Hello and welcome to Japan Expert Insights and our Business Insights room. Every Thursday, Team Sullivan and I, Maya Matsuoka, lead a discussion looking for insights, developments, and new opportunities for the business in Japan. In this podcast, we welcome comments, questions, and opinions. So if you haven't done so yet, join us next time. In the meantime, you can find us at japanexpertinsights.com and our YouTube channel, where we upload all the conversations on Japanese politics, business insights, and the role of Japan in the Indo-Pacific region.
Good morning, everybody. We have several people in the room at the moment. More will join a little bit later. And of course, we are recording this room for those who cannot listen to it now. Once again, we have Jovan Rebolledo. You know him from our previous rooms. So we talk about robotics and also Web 3.0 and NFT and other related topics. Jovan is a researcher. And of course, he has a lot of experience in exponential technologies and artificial intelligence, in robotics as well. So he's also an inventor, innovator, and entrepreneur. Also, we have been happy and lucky to have him here. Thank you very much for joining us today, Jovan. So let's start the conversation, and we'll see how many people join later. Of course, the people who we have here today are interested in the theme, so that's the most important thing. So let's see what's going on with all these new technologies here in Japan.
Yes, thank you, Maya, thank you, team. So today we're going to continue the conversation about the Web 3.0, specifically about the NFTs. So we were talking last time that there are different different flavors of these technologies associated with the web, associated with art, that people get very excited in the recent months, and products that people are just want to buy, and they're seen as investment many times, because you can buy an NFT, for instance, for $50, and then you can sell the same NFT in $1 million. Literally, that has been happening, and the value is really exponential in just a few months. For instance, this project called the Bored Ape Yacht Club, they have minted the apes, which is it's just one ape that has different features. For instance, different color of the hair, different color of the eyes, different skills for saying that, and attitude and clothes. So this, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong, but it was 10,000 minted apes, which each one is an image, JPEG, that they created, they minted. So what they want to do is to sell them to the best buyer, and they started selling it very, very cheap, and the current price is very, very expensive. So I recently ran into conversations about a video that you can find in my website that is associated with my profile here in Clubhouse. Well, it's like my name, jovandavid.com. So you can find there on the top the links to the main topic that I'm going to be talking, and also some notes that I did for this talk today. So the main topic is about a legal expert that talks in a YouTube channel called Legal Eagle. So he really did a very amazing job in telling what is the problematic legal points of the NFTs. So the NFTs became very hype and very fashionable, and everybody's talking about them, and many people want to buy them because maybe the reflection of what Bitcoin used to be. Like Bitcoin started in 2007 or something like that, 2005, and it was literally like cents or maybe even free. They were free of to buy the Bitcoins. So this the value of the Bitcoin, as you know, has been up to almost more than $60,000 one Bitcoin, which literally was free in 2006, 2007, and the value increased exponentially in mainly from 2015 to 2020. So the think that people learn is like, oh wow, this is the next Bitcoin. So the NFTs, especially some art-related NFTs, they became so hyped, and many people wanted to get them. But so this hype, I think, is very well public. There are many ways in which you can get access to NFTs, like not just from the Bored Apes, but also from NBA or from the music industry. So there are even Spotify or even Starbucks are thinking about having some NFTs. So there's a lot of things happening in the NFTs, and everybody wants to create NFTs. But this person from the Legal Eagle, he did an amazing job, and I have run into conversations in internet that they cite this talk that I strongly recommend you to watch if you have time this weekend. Because it gives you a better picture of what NFTs are. So I'm going to try to summarize and also bring some kind of perspectives from, I'm not an expert in legal matters at all, but I can understand the explanation. I can see from the technical point of view. I will bring also some of the features of the technicality and try to explain a little bit on my own way. So basically, there are different types of blockchain. Like at the beginning, Bitcoin was a blockchain or is a blockchain. It's based on the blockchain. The blockchain basically is a database. When you have, for instance, a database, when you have many data points, the data samples, you collect them in an organized way. So usually a database is just in a single hardware or hard drive, and this hard drive is accessed locally. So all the information is locally in one computer or one server. So when you want to go from one entry to the next entry, you have commands that you can see, okay, show me, for instance, the first item of the database, show me the last item, show me the items that match with the name David, for instance, or show me the items that match with certain characteristics or features of the data. So you can filter the data and you can access the data in that way. So the database have been evolving, and blockchain is maybe one of the latest evolution points of the databases. So databases originally were local, and then were distributed, and then there were combination of locally and remote distributed. So the data can be stored in different computers across the globe. So the databases are the main problem of the databases is that they are hackable, and it means that they can be changed. Like a hacker can come into the database and change it. Change, for instance, delete, erase, change the entry itself, or store, like delete all the database, for instance. So that's a real problem that's happening in from small companies, startups to big corporations. Even mistakes on the database manager or administrator, they can delete important data. And mostly, as I'm sure you have heard, that the hackers come and they steal, for instance, the identity or the social security number in America, or this very important personal information from, for instance, the companies like video game companies or hardware companies, etc. And I'm sure you have heard many cases. So blockchain, what it promises is the ability that no hacker is impossible to change the content of the database. So that's kind of the super feature of the blockchain. Like nobody in no way they can change the database. So if you can see this blockchain as a super evolved database, I think that would be maybe a healthy description of it, because once you understand that the blockchain cannot change, then nobody can change it. Once it is in the blockchain, it's impossible to be removed. So you understand the features of the blockchain and why it is important. So there was a hype, I remember very clearly, from 2014 to 2017 about blockchain. And it was in this period that Ethereum was created. So Ethereum was created as a kind of competitor, a new type of blockchain, not a blockchain that is based, another blockchain that is used in Bitcoin. But Ethereum has the ability of programming the itself. For instance, you can add commands, and you can add commands to the blockchain. So the blockchain is programmable. So what it means that when you create the the blockchain, you can create new cryptocurrencies in this Ethereum. So Ethereum became very important because it was very easy to create new cryptocurrencies. So that's why there have been like thousands now, maybe even dozens of thousands of cryptocurrencies created, and there have been a lot of hype also in institutions, in even governments, so associations of people creating their own currencies. There was also a hype of cities creating currencies, etc. And basically, they are all based in the Ethereum blockchain. So the Ethereum blockchain was used for creating the NFTs. So the NFTs are very specific kind of Ethereum blockchain programmed. They have to be with, they are defined in the standard ERC 721, in which they describe what technically an NFT is, and it comes from the Ethereum. That's the main point that one should remember, that there are two blockchains basically. I'm overgeneralizing, but if you can just remember the main blockchain, the initial blockchain was for the Bitcoin, and then kind of the evolution of the blockchain for Bitcoin is the Ethereum. And Ethereum is very versatile in the way that you can program in it to create cryptocurrencies. So one of the specific cryptocurrencies created, or crypto contracts, smart contracts, is the NFT based on the standard ERC 721. So having these a very specific definitions of the NFTs, why they become a potential problem? Well, as I mentioned, this analyst has gone through different cases of different arts and different litigations, and I will bring some of the problems that they are mentioned in the video. So before that, I think we need to define a little bit further what an NFT, or what specifically you buy, what you buy when you are buying a NFT. So when you are buying an NFT, what you really get is an URI, which is kind of an URL. It's an address in encoding an internet that you can access a file, and you can retrieve a file and show it in your local computer. So all the information is really centralized. It sounds very conflicting and ironic, but I think the NFTs have some ironies about being like blockchain based, well, and also having centralized data. And also this is the first irony. The second irony is supposed to be like abundance, but it's really a scarcity mindset. But well, as when you buy an NFT, you buy a unique location of URI. So this location of URI, it's a public text file. Anyone, if you know this address, this like these letters and these numbers, and you can access from a browser. So this inside this public text file, you will have an picture itself. So there's the address of a picture itself, and the picture also is centralized in one server. So this picture, obviously, when you display in your browser, you can copy. You can have a screenshot, for instance, and you can get it yourself. So you can own the real picture. Like, you don't have to buy anything or to put any money, because if you really like the picture, you can have it free. There's no need for buying these NFTs art collections just because you like the image. It's free. So that's the first one of the ironies that is embedded in this NFT, this concept of abundance and scarcity together. So what you buy is just a location. And I think from a legal point of view, as this person mentions, the NFT is not digital property, but it's more like a receipt when you buy something. And I could go forward and say that the NFT is like a Suica card. I'm sure all people who live in Japan will understand the Suica card, because either we have one with us, or it's in our mobiles or in our Apple Watch or whatever, or we have had in the past one. So the Suica card is very, very easy to understand. So that's what I think it's mostly like an NFT. It's like a Suica card. When you get a Suica card, for instance, you can get it even, I believe, with 100 yen. And you go to the machine and the stations, you put 100 yen. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe now it's different, but I remember I bought it with 100 yen, and you got the physical card, a card that was just charged with 100 yen. So this card, when you go to the train stations, you can you get inside the stations with the Suica card. You can buy things in the vending machine with the Suica card, or even in the restaurants, and so on and so forth. So the Suica cards are very, very good. So what you get is a transaction. It's just a receipt. Well, the Suica card is a collection of receipts. You have money in the beginning, and then you are just reducing every time you take away some money. So there's a lot of similarities with an NFT. What you buy in an NFT is just a receipt. It's just like a documented URI and or URL in which you get this kind of information later from a centralized server. The Suica card, you get the Suica card has the insights, the code, and the sensor for saying, this person has this money accounted on this card. So it's very similar. I believe it's very similar to a Suica card. So you might just keep this analogy. When you buy a Suica card for, let's say, 500 yen, and then you try to sell it for $5 million, how do you feel about that? That's kind of the right analogy, I strongly believe, that you should have when you transaction with NFTs. Like, you get it very cheap, and you are selling very, very expensive. But what you are really selling, the Suica card just has 100 yen or 500 yen in it. It doesn't have $1 million. It just have 100 yen. But you are selling it at $1 million. So why? Because there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of speculation. And everybody says, oh, the Suica cards are going to be the next thing in the future. So I should get a Suica card, even though it has no value. I mean, 100 yen value. I should get it. So that's very, very similar from a transaction point of view, and also a little bit from technology point of view, a little bit how this analogy could work a Suica card as a receipt that when you get an NFT. So the kind of problems. Well, I wonder if we can just pause a little bit here and maybe check if there's any questions so far or any comment from the public.
Yes, well, of course we can and we should, and thank you for that. And it's a very interesting analogy about the NFT and the Suica card, because it exemplifies very well how, what actually the hype has created, and the initial value, and the new value actually. So it is fascinating. And I wonder how, we know that even on Clubhouse last year, there were so many rooms about the non-fungible tokens and how, they were created, and how they were, exactly to your point, how they were the new big thing on the market, and so on and so on. And eventually people started realizing that there is something which is not very right there. So, but it was mostly those conversations, they were conducted by people out of Japan. And of course, some of them were, I remember maybe one or two were in Japanese, but just this very limited number. And I wonder how, this has been viewed in Japan, if you have any, any knowledge about this. Can you actually buy any fungible and non-fungible tokens in Japan, or is it still, just something which you can do out of the country?
Thank you for the question. Well, absolutely, you can buy them. From here, from Japan. You just have to have a credit card, and you just sometimes maybe a VPN to connect to outside Japan. But technically, yes. You can buy it here in Japan. From a legal point of view, it's different, because as I have learned, Japan has been becoming more strict about the Bitcoin. So I know people who got a lot of money just buying a few hundred dollars and getting even millions of dollars back in just 3-4 years here in Japan. So the Japanese government understood this very quickly. Well, they were so fast in noticing that many Japanese people were kind of cashing out from the value of the Bitcoin. And there were many people in Japan. I think really relatively more people in Japan than in the average country outside. Maybe not in America. Maybe in America they were proportionally more, but Japan was, many Japanese people benefited so much from Bitcoin. So there was a lot of regulations from the government, and Bitcoin became very, very expensive, very taxed. And so Japanese people who want to cash out the Bitcoins, they should go literally abroad to cash it out and then get the money and maybe put it in the bank there and then come back instead of cashing out here in Japan, because if you cash it out here in Japan, you get a lot of taxation. That's how I understand it. In the NFTs, yes, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Javan. Again, thank you so much
Yes.
for the very interesting conversation here again. I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify because the issue in Japan with respect to Bitcoin and then cryptocurrencies in general is, like you said, the taxation. And I thought that the major issue is that you get taxed even for the unrealized gains. You know, typically gains, you have to be realized to be taxed, right? Because you haven't, actually get any gains. But in Japan, so the market value that they tax you. That's why my understanding is crypto startups, they're all leaving Japan, which is actually a concern, one concern. But can I confirm that? I thought that, is that true? Am I mistaken on this?
I think you are right. To be honest, I'm not an expert on the taxation of Bitcoins, but I think you are completely right. That's why there are less and less startups in Japan with Bitcoin. But also, what I understood is that the taxation when you cash out the money, it was so high. Sometimes I had a couple of friends, and one of them told me how much was it, but I don't remember. It was something like 40 or 45%, like something really exaggerated. And I think it's when you, as I understood, when you declare it as a gain after cashing out the Bitcoin and your tax. But I might be wrong. I'm not completely sure about that.
I think that rate. I think you're in the ballpark. It's because it's taxed at the capital gains. Okay, don't answer your phone. Just kidding. I saw the phone markets surfacing on your icon, but anyway, I'm just joking. Okay, so is there a Q&A session now?
Just about. Yeah, you have any questions? Yes, of course. But also, I have a little more things that I want to share. But yeah. Okay. So let's continue a little longer, and then we can go to the Q&A section. So basically, the main problem that arises from the NFTs in particular, this related with copyright and what is called the fundamental contract theory, which is part of the lawyers. The lawyers need to understand this in the very early years, maybe the first year, maybe even the first term, something very basic that describes what is the contract, what a contract is, what a contract means. So what happens with an NFT, it is that the obligation, the privity, the contractual privity between the minted or the producer of the NFT and the second, third, fourth buyer doesn't exist at all. And that's a huge legal problem. So basically what it happens is that when the producer, there's a person with a capabilities of understanding the creating from Ethereum a new NFT, and also they have the server and they have the right conditions to do it. So they do it. They mint the NFTs and they just open in the OpenSea. They try to sell these NFTs, and there's a contract, but this is not a real contract, and there are many problems with not having a real contract when selling the NFTs. And this is because when the first buyer, when the NFT was minted, was produced, and it's just is sold in the website. So you go and you buy with a credit card or with a ETH or with Bitcoins or Sols or whatever. You buy the NFT and you buy the receipt. Basically, you write the URL, just this text that gives you access to a web server that is private. But you buy it. So then you get it. And then you say, okay, I want to sell my NFT because I want to make money. So you wait 6 months, as many people have been doing. And the value, for instance, of these NFTs get so high. So you get it in a couple $100 or maybe even $50 or whatever, less than $1,000. And then you can sell it for $500,000, $300,000, even more than $1 million. So this value increases because everybody, the scarcity of the, for instance, in the apes NFTs, the Bored Apes, they are just 10,000. So there's a scarcity that everybody say, oh, I want to be one of the few people who have one of NFT. So finally you get it. You were lucky enough, and as you mentioned, Maya, there were so many clubhouse talks, that rooms that they were saying, hey, there's a new NFT, guys, come. And I was intrigued, and I just was listening, and they were saying, oh, we minted, we created these NFTs, come and buy them. And so people were buying the NFTs. So that's Clubhouse, I think, was one very good advertiser of the NFTs. So for first buyers, so the first buyers is the ones who go directly to the website and say they say that they own the NFT. But the problem arises up to there. I think is completely fine. But when you want to sell it, you want to say, okay, now supposedly like my NFT is more of the value that I bought it. So I want to try to sell it like $5,000, for instance. It cost me $50, but I want to buy it in $5,000. So then the second buyer buys from you. But that's where the problem arises, because the NFT is not lawfully, it's not binding, it's not any contract between the producer, the miner of the NFT, and the second, third, fourth buyer. And that arises a lot of problem, because the second, third, fourth, they can sell it as they want, how they want, they can reproduce it as they want. There's no limitation, there's no contract, and it could be it could become very many problems. For instance, if the second buyer sells to the same NFT 2 times, 10 times, 1,000 times at $5,000, for instance, there's no contract obligation of anyone. There's nobody who's going to say, hey, there's supposed to be just one NFT, or why are you selling in this price, or why? So there are many obligations that are lost after the first buyer. So this the contractual privity, it just doesn't exist for the NFTs. So the Bored Apes are a very good example of how there's no agreement on these secondary buyers. So if you buy an NFT that does not have any sale terms whatsoever, as he says, you buy nothing. Literally, like if you don't have any sale terms, you buy nothing. So that has to be very, very careful about what you're buying, how you're buying it, and to read the sales term very carefully, because as it's pointed out everywhere, there is not real sales terms embedded into the NFTs. The NFTs don't have at all in themselves sales terms. So coming back to the Suica card, it's like, for instance, you go and you go in front of the police. The police department, let's say in Tokyo, and you are like saying, hey, who wants to buy? You're trying to sell your Suica card, and then many people say, okay, I want to buy by 10,000 yen, by 100,000 yen, and the police say, okay, what's going on? Why you're selling the Suica card of 100 yen as a price of 100,000 yen? So then that's something that it's happening in very kind of an analogy, like there's who's going to protect the secondary and the third and the fourth buyer. Nobody. There's no restriction. There's no terms there's no obligation from the minter, from the producer, to the secondary and third. So obviously you can, as a Suica card, you can sell it, you can give it away. You can, if you have a hard copy of a card, a Suica card, you can give it to your friend, or you can sell it. You can say, okay, I have 500 yens, give me just 100 yen or whatever. You can sell it; it's no problem. But when you sell it at a price that is so higher, like Hyakumanen, for instance, or Hyakumanen, and the Suica card just you bought it for 100 yen, it kind of doesn't make sense. So that's what the secondary and the third should be protected somehow. Like, why are you buying that at that price? So there's no obligation, there's no contract, there's no protection of secondary buyers. So there are other problems that arise with the NFTs, and it's particularly with NFTs is like the piece of art that you have supposed to have a copyright embedded in it, but in fact there's no copyright. Like everybody can have it, and even worse than that, like as I mentioned before, the picture itself of the ape isn't, in this case, isn't server, isn't a local server, a private server. So if the owner of the server say, okay, I want to close the server, they just close the server and there's no original JPEG image anymore, so nobody can access it. Or they say, okay, I want to change it, so they alter the image, so the image that you thought you buy, you don't have it anymore because the reference to that image, the image itself, it changed. Even though the name and the file exist, the image is different. And you say, why change? It's like, for instance, you buy the Mona Lisa, and then when you buy it, the Mona Lisa has a cake on it, like recently happened. So say, oh, I didn't buy the Mona Lisa with, I just wanted the real thing, not with an altered version of it. So that can happen very, very easily in NFTs. They can sell you an altered version. I mean, the original version can be changed or modified, and nobody's going to tell you anything. There's no protection of anything. The minter has the right to do it, indeed. And the first buyer or the second buyer, the third buyer, they don't have any right to say anything of why it changed. It's nothing. Like, you are at the mercy of the creators, basically. So, and another one is that NFT is just a licensed art that is licensed downstream to further people who buy it. So this also has the license as well. Is not very well specified. It's not limited in time, and as well as a technical aspect, the file, for instance, you can change it. You can get like half the file, just show the first half of the picture, and contain just the same name of the file. You can do whatever with the picture itself, and even you can have the name of a picture to be another type of file. It could be a music file or whatever kind of data you want. You can change the license. It's very, very weak, and also if you don't have, like it's mentioned, if you don't have the copyright of the art itself, at the end you don't have anything. You have nothing. So there's also a very, very interesting case of the Night Circuit case of Naruto versus Slater, which is super interesting. There's, as I understand, there was a person in a zoo trying to take a picture of a monkey or a gorilla, I don't remember. And then this monkey or this gorilla took the camera and took a selfie of himself. And then the owner of the camera picked the camera and then said, oh, wow, that's super amazing. This monkey took a picture of himself. I want to sell it. Who wants to buy this picture? Because it's something unique that doesn't happen every day at all. So there was this case, this litigation, in which says what is art at the end. So this Night Circuit case of Naruto versus Slater, the final decision was that just humans can produce art as a copyrighted art. So anything else that, like animal or AI, computers, robots, for instance, like robots that paint, they cannot be copyrighted. And this has a lot of implications because NFTs by default, for instance, the Yacht Club, the apes, the Bored Apes Yacht Club, they are produced by a computer. There's not an artist that says, oh, I want to do this ape and I want to do this ape. It's a program in the computer that you run it and it produces automatically the apes. So the images of the apes are randomized and are the computer paints them by itself. So as a legal definition, in the United States, I have to say, in the United States, the definition of the copyright doesn't apply at all to the Bored Apes. So what you are buying if you want to buy an NFT of the Bored Apes Yacht Club, you don't have a copyright at all by definition of this Naruto versus Slater. So this is something that you have to be very careful that understand. Maybe in Japan, I am not sure if I don't know, to be honest, what is the state of the copyright. If a person can have a copyright of something produced by an animal or by a computer, I don't know. It might be the case, and I'm telling you this because I know that, for instance, in Argentina, there was a case that gorilla was granted some human rights. So the legal aspect of a gorilla in Argentina it's so much better than in other parts of the world. So the gorillas are more protected. So as I understand, obviously the laws are different in each country, but as it is now in the United States, any art produced by computers, by artificial intelligence, by robots, by gorillas, by animals, it cannot be copyrighted at all. So this is I don't know the exact location or if these bored apes were produced maybe in England or maybe in Canada or Australia. I really don't know. But if they were produced in the United States, even if they want to try to be sold in the United States legally, there's no copyright that protects them. So in Japan, it might be different. I really don't know. So other problems that arise with the NFTs, several consumer protection issues, and also because of the hype and the speculation, the SEC in the United States might classify the NFTs as securities. So that could make this so much more complicated. Are much more taxed in the United States. So this is something that's going to be expected to might happen. And the market manipulation, and I think maybe we were a witness of this in the Clubhouse. I remember very clearly, like last year. So there were some people who say, "Oh, there's a new monkey here, and it's amazing." So people were kind of advertising themselves. There are teams of people who say, "Oh, that they pretend to be buyers." So they get very excited to make you very, very excited to buy the whatever the NFT is. So it's like this market manipulation that is not real. Like people pretending that they're very excited, but it's for making you people to be excited and to buy them. So also, for instance, a person can buy himself the NFT and say, okay, I sell it, I buy it by 100 yens, 100 yens, and then I sell it by 1,000 yens to myself, from myself to myself, and then I sell it to myself again and each man and 10,000 yen, and so on and so forth. So the same person can buy himself, herself, the same NFT again and again and again, and inflating the value. So at 4 or 5 times, or even just one time, could go from 100 yen to Hyakuman yen, for instance, like in just a couple of minutes. So this market manipulation exists in the NFTs, and it's something that it cannot be protected. And well, as we mentioned very briefly, like NFTs could be made, like minted or reproduced without any permissions. And again, it's because of the lack of a contract that exists, legal contract that exists in the that doesn't exist, in the NFTs. And basically, as it's stated that NFTs owners do not know if they have the right over the art, because there's no guarantee, there's no contract that guarantees that. So the NFT owners might not have any ownership at all on the art. And finally, the innovation is a mundane. It means like, yeah, it's nice that you can buy a bored ape and it's kind of cute or it's kind of cool and it looks very funny, but the next ape is kind of similar, and the next, like, there's not so much real innovation, real like artistic value, art, new art embedded. So at the end, these NFTs, there's not a strong innovation itself to be protected, or to the buyers to have you don't buy innovation, like a very amazing innovation. You are not protected for that at all. So those are the points that I wanted to bring, and as it has become very, very obvious in at least in America, is that the NFTs are now going to be in the downhill. It means that many people expect that the values of these NFTs will be decreased exponentially the same way it increased in this year, in 2022, as it has happened with the Bitcoin a little bit, and all the stock markets, how they have been behaving. And many people expect this Bored Ape Yacht Club, for instance, apes, to their values to be lost dramatically in this year. And at the same time, there's also this, there's new, many institutions and many even governments are thinking about doing the NFTs. I mentioned Instagram, Starbucks, Spotify. So all these are jumping into the train of, hey, let's make an NFT. And what is worrisome at some point is trying to see the governments trying to do this. And I just, as I mentioned before, I learned that Japanese government is thinking about doing NFTs. So maybe it's a little bit too late, a little late for doing that. So I could really suggest that there's the government shouldn't do this. And from a technical point of view, like as I mentioned in the past, that the encryption that is embedded in the cryptocurrencies, for instance, it can be hackable. It means that there's going to be ways that you will be able to hack the encoding system. So in the USA, there's now a competition run by NSF, National Science Foundation, in which they are trying to invent a new algorithm for that is unbreakable. And also there are conversations about how to make a combination, a hybrid model of classical computing, cryptography, and quantum computing cryptography. When you combine both of them, it is exponentially impossible to break it. Like if you have possibly just a quantum computer, you might be able to break it with another quantum computer algorithm that could break it. And you have a classic computer algorithm that you can break it with a quantum computer. But a hybrid, possibly a hybrid of classical computer and quantum computer, might be the solution of a potentially unbreakable encryption mode. So that's that's what the USA is trying to do, and I think it has been very, very good to wait. For instance, China jumped into this virtual yuan, in which they have their own blockchain, as I understand. It's not the blockchain based on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it's not Ethereum, but it's their own blockchain, which is kind of centralized by the CCP. So there are many kind of features that interesting that are embedded into the virtual yuan. But I think the US was it did very well in just wait, because the virtual yuan can be hacked. It's not made in a software or in a platform that cannot be altered in the future. Like the technology they used is how, saying it in an easy way, from the past. So China is using like all technology to create this virtual yuan. But I think it's a very good way to wait, and I think Japan and US should wait a little bit more to create a virtual currency and to jump into this NFT as well. It should be very just to wait a little bit more and not to jump right away. And that would be my personal advice. And for everybody, like if you're interested in NFTs, just watch the video that I pointed out first. And then also, as I recommended last time, try yourself to produce NFTs. And when you do it, you will understand how easy it is and how fragile it is at the same time. So you will have a better opinion and understanding, and you can have a better outcome of this. Yes, I think if anyone has any question or comment, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think that Yuka has some questions, and I invite
Thank you.
Yes. Also, if people who are listening, if you have questions, let us know. Raise your hand, and we'll bring you up here with us. So, Yuka, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm trying to speak fast. I don't have to even try. But anyway, so you gave us a lot of great insight and information. So in terms of value or the decline thereof, I think I was aware, and especially most famous one being Jack Dorsey's NFT of his first tweet. He sold it for $2.9 million, and then I think last time I've heard it's like $280. So it's a humongous loss of value. Now, I think it's because lack of utility. Like when you buy a phone, you know what you can do with it. I guess the other arts, there is not a practical use. But my question, because and then also, you talked about copyright issues, that, how to sort of put the rightful owner of the copyrights. Those things, can those things be done with the smart contract?
That's
specify who owns who and with what kind of value the resale is possible.
Yeah, very, very good point. And I'm just really, to be like, I'm amazed. Like they are called smart contracts, but at the same time, they are not smart at all, because the contracts that you have between buyer of an NFT, it doesn't exist. So it's ironic. It's an irony itself. It's really strange. As I mentioned, there's two ironies itself, like abundance versus scarcity, and the one that you pointed out, that the contracts are not contracts at the same time. That they're smart in the way that you can program. You can say, okay, produce, sell, buy, and you can behaviors like a smart, like programming a robot or something like that. Are the basic fundamental law of contract is not taken into account. So they go from jumping from the basic fundamental to something very fancy and programming, like kind of like programming robots or like
Wait,
kind of that with money. So this is kind of this irony itself, like the smart contracts, but they are not really smart at the end. They are not even, the basic thing is not taken into account. So they are smart because they you know exactly who did what, and you can control the behavior and program them. But at the same time, yeah, there's a lack of fundamental contract.
Okay, sorry. Maybe like you said, can you sort of briefly explain what the smart contract are then? Because my understanding, somebody explained to me, because I'm very slow about this. And he said smart contract it's almost like an application on blockchain.
Yes.
Is that a correct concept?
Yeah, basically it is. It is like all smart, the DAOs, for instance, this decentralized, the tokens, for instance, and all these are run into blockchains. And the blockchains, there are different types of flavors of blockchains. Like the original blockchain is the one that is Bitcoin is running on it. But the other blockchain, and when I say blockchain, just I think you can think about, for instance, database. So the other database, new type of the blockchain, is Ethereum. So Ethereum has kind of this very fancy, nice, I believe it's very nice, think of programming on top of the blockchain. So you can create new currencies, you can create contracts. So a smart contract, it means like what you take into account and you see what person is doing what, and everything is in the blockchain of Ethereum. So Ethereum, you cannot change at all. So when it's the contract, it's going to be forever, and everybody can access if you have the right URL or URI, and that's a way of validating. The database is not going to change, but the smart contract, that's what it's smart, because you can program on it on the blockchain contracts that can happen. I believe you can put also variables, for instance, or conditions, if, else, while, for instance, this happens, or things like that. So you can make a contract even more dynamic, for saying that, and smart a little bit. But at the same time, as I mentioned, the fundamental concept of contract, the very fundamental, is not there. So it's ironic. It's really ironic. Like it's a smart contracts with a lack of fundamental contract theory. so it's crazy. This is a crazy world, I would say.
Yeah,
I wonder if that makes sense.
Crazy word. Yeah. So so going back to the hacking issue, the way that I understand is, the blockchain is not hackable, which is the truth. When anything like sometimes those those like earn to play games, they were hacked. It wasn't because of the fault of the blockchain. It's actually, they were actually sort of doing part of their sort of tasks outside of the original blockchain. That's where, the hacking happened. So the blockchain is actually really absolutely safe. Is this concept hold true? It's that your understanding?
Yes. Well, maybe you remember very well this Mt. Gox, like this Japanese in Shibuya, this startup, that they basically had a server, just putting all the Bitcoins in the server. And what it happens is like the administration of the server was very, very, very bad. So it was so easy for people to come and get all data and take it away. But they took also the Bitcoins. So they were able to store the Bitcoins without changing the blockchain at all. So they kind of physically, for saying that, physically stole the files from the hard drive. It could be an analogy if, for instance, they go inside the Shibuya startup, the company, they steal the machine, the server, and they run away. Very similar to that, because they by internet, they came inside the server, they stole the files, and they just copied in their own file on their own servers. So that made like many people losing a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of money. And that has happened again and again in kind of different flavors. Like people lose their ability to retrieve the original file, and they just they just don't have any copy of the receipt of the NFT they buy, or they just lose all the files that they had that it was hacked. So there are ways in which you can steal the NFTs without changing at all Ethereum or the blockchain. The blockchain keeps intact, but the property of the files themselves change to the server, and if you are lucky enough and smart enough, you can access them and become yours. So you don't have to be changing any blockchain at all. I wonder if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And actually, I have millions of other questions, but Mayan's going to kick me out if I start asking. So, and then we also only touched on NFT, right? I mean, for the Web 3.0, there are many, maybe DAO. Maybe we can come back for DAO, and you can come back for Metaverse. And okay, anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you coming back? Well, thank you.
Possibly, yes. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. All right.
Yes, thank you, Jovan. I was going to ask you also about those two, and well, in particular about the metaverse, because it looks like it's the next new kid on the block. But we can, we can schedule another room, depending on your schedule, of course, and talk about that next time. So, Yuka, thank you so very much for all the questions, and thank you to everybody who is in the room. It's Thursday morning; it's a working day here, and we appreciate your time of being with us, and we know that you're busy. But so thank you very much indeed. And well, Jovan, I know that you're also busy, so we'll need to end up the room. But well, the promise is that we'll continue the theme with the other parts of it, however. So thank you very much indeed for being with us today, for preparing for this room. And well, if you have anything to say in conclusion today, please go ahead and do so now.
Yes, just be very careful when you buy NFTs. Just don't get into the hype and don't get into the speculation. And completely recommend to watch the video that I linked in my website. And just watch the video. And if you really want to buy an NFT, watch this video. And then also strongly recommended, try yourself to create an NFT. Once you create it in your own computer, you will understand many, many things. And then you will have a very well appreciation of what NFT is and the potential, and you will be more prepared to deal with the outcomes of it and to take advantage also of the outcomes. So yeah, that's just watch the video and create your NFT, and I would say you are set to go for buying NFTs.
Thank you for that advice, and also for making the video available to everybody here in the room. Well, please follow Jovan's advice if you are into this, and also come and join our room next week on Thursday, 8 o'clock. Also, you have probably heard that Tim Sullivan and I, we have another bite-sized podcast, which is called Unplanned Japan. So you can also listen to those 2-minute episodes and, of course, enjoy them or have questions about them as well. So thank you very much indeed. Yuka, thank you so very much for your questions. Well, everybody has a great day, and we're looking forward to seeing you next time again.
Thank you for coming and staying with us today. We will be on air next week on Thursday at 8 a.m. Japan time again, so join us. Until then, you can find us at japanexpertinsights.com and our YouTube channel, where we upload all the conversations on Japanese politics, business insights, and the role of Japan in the Indo-Pacific region. If you want to stay informed about our upcoming events, you can follow us on Clubhouse, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Again, we're looking forward to your joining us next week. Until then, stay well and make the best of the day. See you.